how to shape your dough. So the dough has had 2 hours resting and it's ready to be formed into a loaf. I'm going to use a proving basket. Now this basket is perfect for rising the dough, but if you don't have one of these, you could alternatively use a baking tin like this. But the advantage of using a proving basket is you get a very pleasing shape and it's going to have a great crust. If you want to use either of these things and simply push your dough together, put it on a baking tray and bake it like that, it's a wet enough dough that it would just flow out and it would likely come out looking like a cow pat or something. It wouldn't look very appetizing. This needs to look as beautiful as it tastes. So our dough's had 2 hours resting. It's had its first rise. You can see how that's risen slightly. So I'm going to put the proving basket here in front of me because that's the shape and the size that I need. And then I need to tip the dough out onto the table. First I'm just going to give it a light dusting of flour. Not too much because you don't want lots of dry unmixed flour getting into your loaf, just enough to stop it from sticking. And using the scraper, I'm just going to scrape this dough out. So I've now got to form this and make it fit lovely in this proving basket. So just grab the ends and give it a couple of thumps and gently tease it out. That little bit of flour that's underneath is stopping it sticking to the table. And you want to tease it out until it's about double the length of the proving basket. So there you go, 1, 2. Yeah, give or take, that's perfect. And you also don't want it too narrow. It's not going to be like a high sausage. It's nice and flat, like, for me, you know, that's the width of my hand. Next up, I'm going to fold it. So 1/3 comes over, and then the second third over. So it's a bit like kind of dough origami here. So now the whole piece is slightly narrow in the basket. That's perfect. So just a little bit of flour under there, check that it's not stuck to the table, and then using my knuckles I'm going to create a seam. So here I'm pushing the dough down really hard and joining those bits of dough together. And this now is about the length of the basket. You see, that's perfect. And the straighter this is, the nicer your seam will be. Now we're going to go right up to this end. And I'm going to keep my thumbs together like this for the most part. Use my fingers and thumbs differently. So the fingers kind of roll the dough towards you, and then thumbs push to stick it down. So you're kind of rolling and sticking the dough. Roll it a bit more, stick it down, roll it, stick it down. All the way up to the seam. There you see you've got this lovely seam there. I'm just going to give it put a bit of pressure on the ends, tuck it in, keep it nice and tidy. That's now the length of the basket, and nice and even. It's not too big up one end or up the other, or with a narrow bit in the middle. And you can see that you have a seam here. Now that needs to go under the loaf when it's baking, but we're going to rise it upside down in this basket. It doesn't bake in the basket, we tip it out into the oven. So the seam needs to be on the top. But first I've got to get some flour in there to stop it sticking, because this is quite a wet dough, as you know, and it'll easily stick to the basket. So a generous handful of flour will help to stop it doing that. In it goes with the seam on the top. Now it's in its basket, we need to keep it covered, or otherwise that will develop a leathery skin which really won't help the crust at all. So back on with the shower cap. If you don't have a shower cap, you can put it inside a carrier bag, works just as well. So make sure that it's got a bit of space to rise. Now, that's all there is to it. You now just leave it to rise. So if you've made this with cooler water and you're going to leave it overnight to rise, then just find somewhere cool in your kitchen where you can leave it, and within 8 hours that'll be ready to bake. If you've made it with hot water and you're trying to do this all inside of a day, then try and find somewhere warm to leave it. And that will take 4 hours if you're using hot water and you've got a warm kitchen and a really live sourdough culture. So that just needs to rest. I'll be ready for baking.